You're listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more. Hola, mi gente! Welcome to the brand new Comic Crusaders podcast, where passion meets pop culture, and we turn up the energy to 11, baby, because today we're going to be blasting off into the comic book cosmos, baby. That's right. We have a legendary creator on deck, baby, and this man right here, he's bringing us a new epic from Dynamite Entertainment called Space Quest. That's right. Yes, that's right. That's Space Quest. All right. So buckle up, grab your photon blasters, and prepare for warp speed, laughs, wisdom, and behind-the-scenes secrets. Because this is not just another trip to the comic shop. This is a full-blown mission to the stars with the man, the myth, the legend, the big boss himself, Mr. Joe Casey, baby. Welcome to the Comic Crusaders podcast. How you doing?
All right. What up, man? How are you?
I am doing fantastic. I'm fired up and happy to speak to legends such as yourself, especially since you're bringing back some such legendary characters in comic book form via Dynamite. I mean, it's exciting. I've spoken to some of your brethren within the Hanna-Barbera line that's out. And I mean, this passionate, and you are not an exception here. You are killing it with this. You know, yes, the book is in shops now, folks. Via Dynamite Comics. If you didn't know this, shame on you. And you better get this on your pull list immediately. So, Joe, let's get started, man, because you've had one epic career, baby. Adventures of Superman, Wildcats, Automatic Kafka. All right. How does it feel to now launch yourself into Space Quest universe? Are you feeling like a kid in a candy store or a mad scientist with a new lab?
It's more on the mad scientist tip, you know. I mean, I've written different IP throughout my career, and these are some classic characters, and to team them up like this is very cool. And you know, I'm all done with it, so I know how it ends. I know how it turns out, and I'm excited for people to finally see it.
All right, bet. So after everything you've done in comics, you know, what itch did Space Quest scratch for you creatively, if you will, that made you say, "Yep, time to suit up and go intergalactic again"?
Well, I mean, I knew they hadn't teamed up before in comics, so being the first, being the pioneer is always fun. And I had a story to tell. I had some things I wanted to see that I'd never seen before, and using these characters, these two different casts, you're going to see things that you've never seen, but make so much sense once you see them. It was a story that kind of fell into place, and we just had to get it out there. We had to tell it.
All right, I want to start reading back to your childhood before we move a little bit further. All right. So for those that are unaware of who Joe Casey is, and first, of course, how dare them? They don't know. But let them know where you're originally from. And the most important question in your life, Joe, what was the first fandom that you ever fell in love with?
Well, I grew up in Tennessee, the wild woods of Tennessee.
All right.
And, you know, the thing that first grabbed me was comic books, Marvel comic books when I was 5-6 years old.
Okay.
They got a hold of me hard, and they never let go. They still haven't let go, damn it. Still hanging on to me.
All right. I always love to know how did you find this? Was it a self-discovery? Was it mommy? Was it papi? Was it an uncle, an aunt, cousin, brother? Like, how did you fall upon, you know, this addiction in your life?
I think it was sort of the typical way of my guys of my generation. I was on a road trip with my parents, going on vacation somewhere. I don't even remember where. And, you know, you make the pit stop at the convenience store, get to gas up and get a soda. And there was the spinner rack right there. And I knew about Spider-Man just because, you know, he was a pop cultural icon already.
Yeah.
But I'd never seen him in a comic book before. So here was these comic books, Spider-Man on the cover. And I begged my parents to spend the 20 cents or whatever it was back then.
So I
And
mean, you think it was so little money? It really wasn't. But it really wasn't even that much then. But still, it was a little hit. But regardless, like 20 cents. Like I get it, man. My shit was American Airlines at JFK when my parents were going to Puerto Rico, and Eastern Airlines with Christ-Star, the Crystal Warrior #2. So I get
oh,
it.
wow.
A trip. That's why I laughed when you commented that. Like, yeah, it was for me. It was also a trip. Well, she did it to shut me the fuck up because I was begging too. She's like, are you crazy? Yes, sir. This is absolutely live as Lamont QZ. We're here with the legendary Joe Casey. So yes, this is absolutely live. All right, I dig that. So, all right, when you found comics and all, because you were aware of it, were you kind of a lone wolf type of kid growing up with it, or did you have a tribe of fellow geeks?
I had a couple of friends that were into comic books too. I was lucky in that regard because it wasn't easy to find back then. So, my neighbor across the street was into comic books too. He actually grew up and ended up being a comic artist himself. His name is Matthew Southworth. He's co-creator of Stumptown and done a lot of
Oh,
other things.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
we grew up across the street from each other as kids, so we were all into the same stuff. Both of us into the same stuff,
Excellent.
and yeah. So I wasn't a complete lone wolf, but we were definitely the outsiders of our community because back then geek culture had not taken over the earth as it has now.
I mean,
You were kind
style-wise, you still remind me of one of the outsiders from the movie. I love the shades.
of
I wish I could find shades that look good on me like that, bro. Shit. All right.
they're not they're just $10 at the local Rite Aid. They're easy to find.
Yeah, not for my big ass head. That's the problem. Now, all right. So, if we can sum up this space quest, to bring up to speed, because I want people to know about this new project, man. This is very important. Because I mean, you coming back into the game and you doing some legendary stuff with this. Again, it's Hanna-Barbera material, and the other squad is murdering it. And yeah, with this issue out now, you're definitely killing. I'm gonna show you guys the covers of the one that you got to pick up now. Get all the covers. Why not? I mean,
Sure.
it's wall candy. You know what I mean? So if you could sum up Space Quest using only a movie trailer voice language, let's say, how would you pitch it?
Let's see. In a world where two IPs have never coexisted, now they will finally come together in an epic tale of action and adventure across galaxies, across universes. Nothing you've ever seen. Go buy it right now. Space Quest #1 out now.
Hey, oh, yeah, you were one of the most prepared folks ever. I love it. I dig it. So I know you're known for pushing boundaries here, flipping scripts. Now, how does Space Quest flip the classic space adventure on its head?
Well, I don't know how it flips the classic space adventure on its head. I can tell you that it takes the Johnny Quest cast and the Space Ghost cast, and mixes them up in a very interesting way because there's a lot of similarities between them. They both have two young heroes that they run around with. They both have weird pets they hang out with. They both have cool sort of action father figure characters that they hang out with. So the similarities are right there. So to take those similarities and contrast them and put them next to each other and mix them up a little bit, that's kind of that was the hook of the story for me going into it. And it turned out great. It came out. It's one of those things where it came out exactly as I thought it would going into it, which is not always the case. Sometimes things change and morph and go on their own path. This one we were fully in control of the story, and we're really happy with the outcome.
All right, so let me ask you: when you were but a wee laddie, were you a fan of Space Ghost and Johnny Quest?
When I was a kid, yeah, they were kind of ubiquitous on Saturday mornings. I mean, Johnny Quest would be relicensed every 2 or 3 years and just end up on another network. And Space Ghost was the same way. I don't remember not knowing about them. They were just kind of always on. So they're really familiar with them. Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy how many things like this are a staple of our lives? And now a staple of your youth, now you're writing it, you know what I mean? Building upon its story. I mean, that's fucking crazy to me. I can't imagine how you feel. So let's go back. So were you always daydreaming about these type of cosmic odysseys, or was it more Earth first, Mars later?
Oh no, I mean, it wasn't long after I started reading comics that I wanted to do them. I wanted to make them. I wanted to be on the other side of the page, because I mean, they hooked me right away, and they never let go. And it wasn't just enough to read them and follow the adventures of these cool characters. I would see names in the credit box, writer, penciler, inker, and just be fascinated by it. And just, I wanted to know, how do these things get made? What's the behind the scenes action there? And luckily, in the 80s, as I was growing up, there was a lot of fanzine material out there that you could buy, like Comics Journal, Amazing Heroes, Comics Interview. All these things took you behind the curtain and kind of gave you an insight on how these things were made, what these jobs were, how they did. Yeah. So I just was on a mission since I was probably 8, 9 years old. So I'm going to make these things. I didn't know if I could do it for a living. I just knew I wanted to create comic books, and I got really lucky, and with luck and hard work, made it happen as a career.
I don't know. For me, I've always loved comics. I've always been very imaginative. I come up with good ideas that people think they're good ideas anyway. When they tell me, I hope, I don't know that they gas me, but I've never. That's why I love creators. Yeah, bold enough to say, fuck it, let me break the veil and break out of this and get it done. So when you started doing that, how did you finally say, fuck it, I'm going to put my stuff in public out there? Like, what made you break out that shell and say, I'm going to do it?
Well, I was drawing my own little horrible comics since I was, like I said, 8, 9 years old. So it was just something I had to do, compelled to do it, couldn't stop doing it. Then when I was about 15, 16 years old, I was pretty full of myself, and I thought, I'm ready to go pro. So I started sending things to Marvel, sending things to DC. Got rejected, of course, but did get some encouragement. So from there, I went in the 80s, in the late 80s, there was a nice little underground black and white boom, which I got into that a little bit, got some things published through there.
Nice.
And then in the mid 90s, once I'd really grown up and really realized I was an adult that needed a real job, I put the pedal to the metal and worked my ass off, and finally got in at Marvel in 1996, I think, 97.
97.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was full speed ahead from there.
Excellent. I dig it. So what's been the wildest creative freedom moment working with Dynamite on this particular book? Are there are they really letting me do this type of moments?
I mean, I know going in, I kind of know the parameters. I know I'm not going in thinking, oh, I'm going to get to do a nude scene with Johnny Quest. I mean, you know better. However, I will say this. In the Space Quest series, and it's going to sound horrible when I say it, but I'm just going to say it. I wanted to get a gun in Johnny's hand so badly, because that was the cool thing about the cartoon. It was very action oriented, very espionage-y. And it was for kids, but it wasn't too kid-like.
Yeah, definitely. I would say it had a kind of a very preteen, teenage feel to it, as opposed to kids. Now, a little bit more mature in the sense of how I think the Floyd. Yes, kitty, but if underlying tones, I feel you. Yeah, that's why we like this stuff. They still do this subconsciously to us, where they do undertones, where they keep us hooked. There's adult undertones in that. Stop it. You're getting me hooked.
Luckily, even though I couldn't in the first Johnny Quest series that I did last year, I couldn't get a gun in his hand. I knew that was verboten, but a science fiction laser rifle that he can hold and fire.
Oh, so, you found
it that way.
The loophole. Love it.
That's right. It's
like Batman. Like Batman can have a gun, neither can Johnny Quest. And I love that you found a loophole through science fiction. It's not a gun. It's a laser rifle.
Doesn't exist. No problem.
Not yet, anyway. I mean, although I see I did see. I don't know if you saw this, but in Italy they have the anti-drone guns. It looked like something out of a video game.
Oh wow.
It's insane how it looks. It has like a plate on it. Uh, it looks like, for real. It looks Space Marine type shit. I can't even explain the design, but it looks so great. But it looks like definitely like a tray, and apparently that's how you just shoot it down with some like an energy beam or some shit.
Oh wow. Well, here we
Yeah,
go.
Italy. Yo, check these things out. Add these to the comic books, Joe.
Yeah.
Let's go. All right. So Space Quest sounds like a perfect sandbox for you. So what were you most inspired by? Was it the classic sci-fi comics, the 80s cartoons? Did you incorporate any type of novels? Like, as you built the universe, what flavors were you bringing in here?
I would say that, I mean, in terms of like what the influences on the tone and the way I wanted to do the book, with Johnny Quest, there's always kind of an Indiana Jones vibe to it, which I've always liked.
Definitely.
And with Space Ghost, I'm a big fan. There was a comic book in the 80s, I don't know if you remember, called Nexus.
Oh, absolutely. I
Yeah.
have the first issue OG, and I have actually the whole original series, even the one that comes with the record.
The flexi disc, right on, yeah. So Nexus was very inspired by Space Ghost. Steve Rude, the artist, big Space Ghost fan. So I love Nexus. So to do the Space Ghost parts of the comic, I just sort of tapped into my Nexus obsession and just got into that influence big time. So it was great fun to do that because I love Nexus.
Hey, a very underrated indie superhero, in my opinion.
Me
It's
too.
like, come on, man. It's like, these are the big two corners of the market too much, and they swamp the market. That's what it is, and it doesn't, and it kind of drowns out the smaller creators, unfortunately. But we're trying here, Crusaders to work at making these things known. Because definitely, I agree. Nexus. That's why I have the OGs. It's
Yeah.
I'm an indie fan. It's like I know Nexus, absolutely fucking literally. Like he will rock out half of fucking Marvel by himself.
Yeah, that's right.
I thank you. There we go, Joe. We got to do this story now. You've created a lot of characters over your career, right? What makes the heroes and of course the villains of Space Quest stand out in the cosmic crowd, in your opinion?
Well, the trick with Space Quest was I knew I wanted to use a classic Space Ghost villain from the cartoon, but the Space Ghost series that they're doing is used up almost all of them.
Okay.
It's just a villain after, and it's great. But
I know proposes some murdering on that motherfucker.
Yeah. but there's one they had never used, and it was actually one that I liked a lot. So I was able to snatch that villain and use him here.
Oh, how lucky were you? Happened to be the one you wanted, maybe.
Unbelievable. And everyone who's really familiar with the Space Ghost cartoon will know this villain right away.
Oh, fantastic. I'm digging it. All right. So comics are like storytelling mixtapes, right? So what songs would be on the Space Quest playlist if you were vibing through the stars?
Well, since you know about the Nexus Flexi Disc, I would have to say the Liberator theme song from that Nexus Flexi Disc.
Shit. My man. Folks, please, if you don't understand what I'm saying, this needs to be the next big collectible. Like, this is old school stuff. I wish they would. Now that record players are hot again, they need to bring that stuff back.
Yeah.
Not just the cars. They need to bring the flexi disc, all this stuff. Come on, man. Make comic books fun again.
People have their record players and playing their vinyl now, so they can play these flexi discs too. Why not?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you know what? If you do a project next show, I think you need to start bringing it back. If you do some Kickstarter projects, some shit, bro. Let's do it. I'll help you any way I can. Now, let's talk about this, Joe. Fans love the feels. Is there a moment in Space Quest that might actually make us put down the Doritos and say, "Yo, that hit me right in my soul"?
I think so, because in the course of the story, we separate the members of the families from each other. They get separated. So you really get to feel the loss of the family dynamic on both sides. But especially on the Johnny Quest side, you know, Benton Quest is their father. So for him to be separated from his kids, man, that's a big deal. So we definitely see him feeling that. Because that's, you know, I agree, that's the way to make these characters real for people, is to get them to feel for them, get them to get their heart strings tugging a little bit.
That's why you become fans of certain things, because you feel for them, and then when they reappear later in life, oh, I love as the kid, because you know what, it made you feel, and also it's a throwback to when you were a kid. So you know, it's a double whammy, baby. I love it. So Joe, what was it like, you know, working with the team you had? Let me start bringing up the covers from issue 1, because I mean, look at these covers, man. Look at those colors. Look at that artistry. This is insane, bro. So what was it like working with the creative team behind this? I mean, like did you have a choice in this, or did they gather you guys like Voltron for this?
No, it's the artist is Sebastian Perez. He was the guy who we did Johnny Quest together. So this was just a continuation of that creative team. We're real comfortable. Sebastian is fantastic. He draws a great Space Ghost.
Yes, he does.
So we just you know kept going from what we've been doing for the past 5 issues on Johnny Quest. We're a well-oiled machine at this point.
But I mean, look at these covers, man. Look at that, yo. The representation. I mean, look at this, yo, bro.
Great.
I mean, the covers alone is just so eye candy that who would not want to get this off the shelf? Like, yo, you know what I mean? I mean, look at this, bro. And Space Ghost has never. I mean, Space Ghost himself has never looked so badass.
Very cool, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, all right. So, what's this story? How many issues are we getting on this? Is this a run? This is a limited series. What are we talking about here, Joe?
It's 4 issues. It's like its own event comic. 4 issues, jam packed. You'll get your money's worth. I guarantee it.
Excellent. And again, it's out of shops now, folks. You know what I mean? So, I mean, so, all right, coming back into the comic scene, what's the biggest change now that you've noticed in the industry? And how does a Joe Casey navigate this new frontier in comics now that you're back in the game?
Well, it's always changing. The landscape is always changing based on all kinds of factors. I mean, I think that the thing that's changed the most for me personally, since I've been in this thing for 25 plus years now.
A veteran, man. Salute, baby.
Yeah. But the methodology for promoting our work has changed a lot. And it's gotten a lot harder to get out there and get the word out. I mean, it's, you know, it's why we're grateful for.
Let me ask you, wait a minute, because I know you're in the old school, based on the fact you said 97. That we're the early birds in the advent of technology and the spaces of social media and all. So we were those early birds. The early now, we're the pioneers of those spaces. So even with all that, you still think that it's still difficult, even through like using social media, or is it that you yourself maybe are not comfortable with social? I mean, I just want people to understand the mindset and see how they can navigate this. I mean, you know what I mean?
No, it's not that I can't navigate. It's just there's so much of it, and there's so many platforms. There's no centralized place where everybody goes to see what's going on. So to hit that massive number of people to create awareness of your work is almost impossible, because no one is congregating in one place. I mean, when I broke in, we had, you know, love it or hate it, Wizard Magazine was the North Star for comic book awareness.
Joe. I still got mine. You know what I mean? Like, this is bought from the shop day one when this baby came out.
Wow. Yeah.
I had to frame it because this was an iconic thing that came out at the time.
Yeah. And, you know, for almost 20 years, that magazine was the central outlet for our industry.
The hub.
And, yeah. And, you know, you could define yourself as a creator, as a person working in the industry, by your relationship with that magazine, whether you're in it or not in it. That's how you defined yourself.
It was the Rolling Stone of comics, bro.
Yeah. Exactly. And, to be honest, I mean, as much as it's sort of tough to admit, there were many times where it's outsold every comic book on the market. To be the highest selling comic book related periodical out there.
But again, interviews, this is pre-internet, folks. Is like we were getting like a deeper insight in such a cool way, though. It was so different. It was 90s, man. It was a vibe, bro.
Yep.
Right.
I mean, being in that magazine as much as I was in my early career helped make my career. Would have been a lot harder to make it.
I saw your name there a lot as I was collecting that magazine.
Yeah, I mean, if I hadn't been in there, it would have been a lot harder to establish myself and to get eyeballs on the projects I was working on. So, I mean, I'm grateful that magazine existed when it did.
So let me ask you. I want to ask you, just from a creative perspective, like this magazine was the shit, right? But how come they didn't translate well into the internet market?
Well, because there were websites that existed that were doing it better in terms of delivering news quicker and more up to date. A monthly print deadline you're never going to be on the edge unless you have an exclusive, which once the website started kicking, those Wizard exclusives just went away because the websites were getting the exclusives because you needed to time it perfectly to get the orders where you wanted and get it in the order cycle correct. So Wizard kind of became a little bit obsolete in its ability to be on the cutting edge of breaking news, which is kind of what it comes down to. And it never, for whatever reason, it waited too long to transition into a web presence that could still be just as effective, just as quick on the draw, just as fast with the breaking news, and they can never catch up. I mean, sites like Newsarama and Comic Book Resources just outpaced them exponentially in the early aughts. I mean, and by the mid-aughts, it was kind of all over,
You're right. And then those platforms got taken over by major labels and major brands eventually. I obviously gave them the army, if you will, to get stuff done. I agree there. Sadly, but again, folks, legendary. You find this baby, just pick it up. I mean, come on, bro. Look at that. What? Classic. This is just classic. I had to frame that baby. All right, so imagine you could send one message to your readers, writing on a comment into deep space. What would the Space Quest message be?
Well, I don't know if I would limit it to Space Quest. I would say if I was going to do something that big and broad, I would just send the message out that comic books are the greatest storytelling medium out there. They will never, nothing beats them. Nothing is better than comic books when it comes to telling stories. And that's what I would want everybody to know. Because it's true.
I dig it. And Joe, I mean, you got these books out. Summer is coming upon us real soon. We're in spring and the days are beautiful. The leaves are growing. But so are conventions. So you make any appearances where fans could, shake your hand, buy some copies of books off of you? What's popping on the schedule?
I'll probably be banging around San Diego this year a little bit.
I'll see you there. You're gonna hear Puerto Rican saying, "Where someone?" And just look around like this goddamn loud mouth Puerto Rican from New York. Yes. Hopefully, I don't get arrested for being loud, but I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to do it for my people.
I think in the San Diego Hall will be fine. No problem.
All right, bet. We're gonna have fun. I can't wait to see you there. All right, bet. So, and of course, the multi-million-dollar question here: if readers do not pick up Space Quest, what epic space calamity will befall them? Solid, brother.
Well, I'll tell you what. I've been told by 4 out of 5 doctors recommend Space Quest as a cure-all for anything that ails you physically. So if you're suffering from some kind of malady, you get this book, you're right as rain as soon as you finish reading it. So, I mean, you can't afford not to get this thing.
Oh, but if you're suffering from boredom, if you're suffering from, indigestion or whatever shit is like that, you need to read the right books to keep you entertained, pick up that metabolism and get you excited. This is that book right here. It is Space Quest, man, because Listen, this is a legend. He is back in the game and he is murdering it since the last series. Now he's doing. Come on, man. It is the Casey verse come to life with the Hanna-Barbera. You can't ask for anything better, yo. What the fuck, man? This is a legend right here. I dig it, bro. So Casey, man, I really dig your time, your energy, everything you're doing, bro. I mean, anyone you want to give a shout out to, other than, of course, Amy from Dynamite, thank you for putting this together. Appreciate you.
Well, of course. No, I'm just glad anybody who picks up the book, I hope they enjoy it. And we did our best to make it a very accessible, fan-friendly comic book. So go out and check it out and hope you like it.
And there you go, for the Space Quest #1 is in shops right now. It's #1 of 4, baby. That's right, 4 issues. Get it done. It's a mashup. It is Space Ghost. It is Johnny Quest. It is amazing. It is Wild Hanna-Barbera. Come on now. You see what everybody else is doing, and you already saw what Obi was already doing. You know what? You want this right now. And of course, go visit Dynamite Comics, not just political, but everything else that they're doing. But keep up with Joe, though, because Joe got a Substack, right? So it's the joecasey.substack. Now, as I'm showing this, so let them know what can they get if they sign up to your Substack.
Well, I'll tell you what, it hits twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays. It's free to subscribe. So, again, you get your money's worth. And there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff from the comic books I've done over the years, a lot of industry commentary. A lot of I remember earlier I was talking about the stuff that I was drawing, the kid comics I was making when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. That goes up there on Substack. I found all those old comics that I did, posting those periodically. So it's really kind of a repository of all the stuff I've done over the years from when I was 9 years old to now. So it's kind of like one man's history with comic books. Twice a week. Free to subscribe.
There you go. Listen, everybody's favorite F word, not that one, you dirty folks. You free. Understand? Right. That one. FRWE, baby. And Joe got some stuff for you, so check it out. That Substack. The links are below, but they're also in the show notes, so you can click away and show support again for Dynamite. But again, most importantly, please pick up the issue, man. It's out in shops right now. Issue 1. Then subscribe is only 4 issues. I mean, get it done, and then after that, you get the graphic, and then you can see Joe at SDCC and get them signed and get them CGC'd on the spot too. You need to take pictures with Joe. Whatever you gotta do, whatever you gotta do to prove it, you gotta sign by the amazing Joe Casey. We're gonna prove that, all right? So, Joe, you're the man. Any last words before we go?
No, man. Thanks for having me. It's a blast. Love it.
Yeah, you rock, man. Joe is the man. And again, I gotta get shades like that. I've been looking around, but I see what you're doing here. I gotta make sure they fit my big ass head. And with this Al Mega, it's Joe Casey. It's the Comic Crusaders podcast. Thank you for tuning in, mi gente. Appreciate y'all. Hasta la próxima. Wepa! Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit comiccrusaders.shop and our extended podcast family over at undercovercapes.com. And also, make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app on the Google Play Store today.